Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Gwyn, and the Insider crew.
Welcome, everyone. On the day that we are recording this, we're here at PCA's national office. I want to wish all of our listeners and everyone around the table a happy Lunar New Year. I wish you good health, happiness, prosperity, and possibly a new Porsche added to your collection. I want to do this real quick for my folks here that in the office. It's tradition that you give out some lucky money. We also have a young guest over there, Eva, this is for you. Your first Lunar New Year money packet. Yeah. So it's good luck money. You can have Papa take you to go buy stuff later. This is for you, Damon.
That's how we get our raises here.
There you go. Don't spend it all in one place.
Uh-huh.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you.
If you're watching online, of course, you're watching Manny and Damon around the table with me, but we have our guest here who's been a member since 1986, second time around on a video with us, and that's Paul Gentile.
Well, good to be here.
Good to have you.
Years longer a member than I am. That's pretty good.
I think I'm a little older than you, Manny. Just a little.
Just
Not
a
lot,
little bit.
Just a little.
I want to thank Pirelli for their sponsorship. And for those of you listening, if you aren't currently a PCA member and own a Porsche, grab that VIN, head over to PCA.org and get yourself set up. If you are looking for a Porsche, we have the test drive program. Just head to PCA.org and sign up as a test drive member, and then we will unlock resources to help you find your Porsche for your driveway and or your garage. So where do we want to kick this off? What we did last week?
Sure.
Or should we talk about how we might try to get Depends as a sponsor for the show?
Oh, that's harsh.
That's the first time. Is that the first time we spilled coffee on the
If you're watching and you've noticed how wet
Paul,
how wet Paul is?
How wet Paul is?
You can't see me. You can't see
Goodness,
me.
he's wearing dark colors.
It was a full cup of coffee.
Yeah, I spilled a full cup.
Nice
of fresh
going
coffee.
there, Damon.
Yeah, so there's a big cup of coffee in front of Paul. This one has a lid. The one previously did not.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Damon
And you notice I'm in coffee purgatory right now. Not for this episode. I think my
Damon was
luck is
adjusting his mic and launched the cup of coffee.
Launch is a good word for it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't a
that
drop
came
left
quick.
inside.
You know what? I gotta say, in this case, the coffee maker that we have is kind of so-so. It's not super hot, but it worked out that
It's cold right now.
If that were fresh McDonald's coffee, there'd be a lawsuit.
Yeah.
It's starting to cool off now.
So I think our insurance company is probably happy that we have a so-so coffee maker.
We'll
And
see about that.
Damon put himself into coffee purgatory after that. He's still shaking right now.
Yeah, right. Like
So his
He thought I was going to
Starbucks
be mad at him.
cup.
Little does he know.
Yeah. Anyway,
right.
so
Maybe I'll
hopefully
teach him how to wash his car.
Yeah.
oh God.
Oh my
Man.
goodness.
Wow.
The punches have been thrown. We'll
Yes,
talk
they
about
have.
that in a little bit. But welcome, Paul. And let's start off. How was your weekend?
Well, this weekend was okay, but a couple of weeks ago I was down in Mecum, Kissimmee,
Yeah.
and was able to see the 917 go through the block, and a lot of people there, and I guess a lot of people watching were disappointed.
Was
it
that your
did
first
not.
time to Mecum, or?
No, I've been there probably half a dozen
Why
times.
didn't you take it up to 26?
Um,
Your hand
you
up.
know, at 20 million, that was my internal
Could you
reserve.
imagine you took the 26 and you could say it was my bid that Jerry turned down?
Yeah, I didn't want to take
Say
that
that?
risk.
But then you see the hammer, and then your light. It just
Oh
all
my
starts
God.
to
Then
look
you got a
dark.
nice 17.
Well, the funny thing is, the friend of mine had the bidder's pass, so it would have been on him. Now I could have said, "See you, Tom," because I had to catch a plane.
For those of you that haven't been to an auction in person, the energy is incredible, and it is very different. It's cool to watch it on TV, don't get me wrong, but being there in person, and then also possibly when you're seeing a car that you might be interested, because there's like 2,000 cars,
4,500.
4,500 cars
At Mecum, yeah.
at Mecum,
Mecum,
at
yeah.
Mecum. So there's a likelihood that there's a car there that you might find yourself interested in, and you can possibly, that excitement of going after cars, kind of cool.
I could sit in a live auction all day.
Yeah, that's like the best people watching, right?
It is not only people watching, but just watching the cars go and trying to guess what they're going to go for. It's really exciting. It's I mean, Mecum really moves them back fast.
Well, you know, they
but-
slowed them down this year compared to
Really?
previous years.
Really?
I was
On
kind of
TV, it looked
surprised.
fast.
And I met somebody there that I'm going to see at Amelia Island, as it turns out, because he goes. And we started sort of informally betting, will the reserve come off?
Yeah.
And then we were doing a little over-unders on what we thought it would go for, which is, you know,
It's a lot of fun.
it is a lot. It
They-
is a
they
lot
do,
of fun.
Especially Mecum, the energy that they bring. I've been to several different auctions, and there's different styles, right? The reserve, sort of classic, and then you have the rowdy and liquored up people kind of auctions. And I'd love to go to Scottsdale or Phoenix.
I've been to Scottsdale.
Scottsdale, Barrett Jackson.
I've never been in an auction though.
Oh,
I've been there for the seminar, but I wasn't able to go to
Well, what difference do you think a Scottsdale auction is from a Monterey auction?
like a Barrett Jackson. I've never been to Barrett Jackson.
Yes, you did.
I did.
You turned 50.
Now who's the old one in the group?
Well, I did.
Remember, we went to. We didn't go to Barrett Jackson.
Yeah.
but listen to me, because that was too. They said it was a zoo, but we went to Russo Steel.
Yeah, I remember that.
So it's the same thing. It's a.
Well, but I'd like to see like the different companies all have
Different styles.
different
They
styles
do,
of doing it. So
yeah.
I would like to, because I've seen Barrett Jackson on TV, so I'd like to actually go in sometimes. I don't know.
It's funny,
Just
this time I
You are
did.
so spoiled. Mecum brings you up to the stage.
No,
they let you hammer, and you're like, I still want to see Barrett Jackson.
I love that opportunity and our partners at Mecum, but I want to experience everything. Why not?
David, get a cup of coffee. He wants to feel like whether it feels
I
like
didn't
oh,
see. You mentioned liquored up. I didn't see an inordinate amount of alcoholic consumption this time.
Really?
Yeah, in years past, and I think the last time I went was maybe 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
It was a little more obvious.
Like
Not this time, which is fine because you know people get
Yeah.
kind of ignorant.
So you're saying
Yeah.
that if Dana would have spent more money on liquor, maybe the 917 would have sold?
Well, the people who were bidding weren't in the audience, so
Yeah.
it looked like they were all phone bidders.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of speculation for a while as to what happened and
And the bid goes
was it
on,
bitter.
right?
Yeah, I think
they're trying to probably work out something.
I suspect
after that.
eventually it will sell. The question is will we know,
Yeah.
and will we even know the price?
Yeah.
Who
I
knows?
guess we'll know when someone else shows up to an event with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
that'll be the
Yeah.
talk.
We
also.
know he won't take less than 25, so
Yeah.
I guess that's the.
things I don't have to worry about.
Nope. Nope. How about you, Manny?
Let's see. I unwillingly had to do repair work on my wife's Sonic.
Ah, the
Yeah,
Sonic that you love.
The throttle position sensor went up, and I thought, well, do I mail order the part? And there was one place in all of Baltimore that had it. And I looked at the address and I said, you know what? That's back where I used to work at. I might go Saturday night to pick it up. And then the day went on, and I'm like, I'll just do it Sunday morning after coffee. I would drive down and get it. And that's what I did. And thank God I did it Sunday, because I did not realize where it was. It was in the sketchiest part of Baltimore City.
Oh.
It made the wire look safe.
Oh.
I walked into the advance, and there's a armed security guard.
Yeah.
Inside.
Oh, I think I know the advance you're talking about.
That's a telltale.
yeah,
sign.
yeah. There's one straight through, and yeah.
Yeah, I don't
I've
think
been
you've
there.
ever been to this one.
I might have. I've done some searches around.
You know where the Montgomery Ward building is?
Oh yeah, I know where that is.
It's
Is that a
about a
sketch
mile-
part
of Baltimore?
It's about a mile north of that.
Oh.
That's Pigtown.
Yeah, I've been there.
So it's in the shopping center.
Yeah.
Very, very, very.
One of my best
sketchy.
friends lives in Pigtown, actually.
Oh.
So
But
Well,
you made
it's
it out.
about a mile north. It's not.
You
in
made it
Pigtown.
out.
Huh?
You got your part. They had your part.
Yes, yeah. Well, it wasn't like they were going to steal my car. I mean, it was E3.
yeah.
Probably felt sorry for me.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Some of the best, the deeper you go into the city, is where like sometimes you is where the auto zones that have that random part that you need and nobody else has. Like, because I was searching for CV axles for the Camry a few years ago,
Yeah.
and I think it was one in the city is the only place that had it. Otherwise, I would have had to drive like 30, 40 minutes or something. So you never know.
So anyways, got the pretty simple.
You fix it.
Yeah.
Thanks to YouTube.
Was
Watch
it just-
YouTube, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's pretty simple. I can do that. And I went to get the part. And by the time my wife came back from her beach trip with her girlfriends, it was all fixed. But the experience of the thing going to limp mode was enough for my wife to finally admit that the car has to go.
Oh,
there you go.
loss of confidence in a vehicle.
Yes,
That'll.
yes, she did not. And I said, "How far did you go?" Like a couple miles down the road. It was to the end of our cul-de-sac.
Oh, but that's all it takes. That car's days are limited.
Because I said it's the car's way of protecting itself. You know, I try to explain to her what the limp mode means.
Why are you trying to
And,
convince her that you don't need a car?
And so she, because she still has to drive this car for a little bit. So, that, not me, her. She has. Anyways, now we're looking at. We've gone into looking at used Cayennes or Macans.
Mm.
So,
Do a Cayenne, then like everybody in the office will have one, pretty much.
yeah, I won't be bringing it here.
Cayennes?
That'll be her car.
The Cayenne's a good choice.
Yeah.
I like the Cayenne, but she's the one going to be driving that.
Yeah,
way,
I mean, she wants something a little.
Go with
Well,
an
you have
S.
grandchildren and stuff, so the extra room probably
If it was me, I'd get a Cayman. I wouldn't get a SUV, but she wants a
for just
SUV.
one grandchild to be able to.
No, none. Just go visit.
Oh, you
them.
mean just go visit them?
Oh, sorry, I can't take.
Manny.
Man, what a
This one's
grandfather
for-
you are.
See, two drastic different styles of grandparenting here.
Yeah.
He's got his granddaughter here with the headphones and an iPad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Modern child rearing.
There
Yep.
you go.
Yeah.
How about you, Damon?
Well, I've got quite a few updates, and I'll just start with what I did over the weekend because that's what came to mind first. But I don't know if there are any video gamers out there who ever bought F-Zero GX. And some of you who played Super Nintendo might know F-Zero.
Went
From
right
way
over
back in the
my
day.
head.
Look at Paul right now. He's getting all glazed.
Right, glazed over. Well, anyway,
Paul's about to fall asleep.
Let me take some coffee so I can get some
Yeah.
caffeine here.
yeah, I know, right? No, I've rediscovered it, and it's such a great game. Highly recommended if you can find it. It's for GameCube, so kind of rare. But
Is it a racing game?
it's a racing game.
Oh, okay.
You're in these hovercraft sort of spaceship things.
Oh, you lost me.
Me
Yeah,
too.
and you go upside down, corkscrews, and all
Hovercraft.
sorts of stuff. It's not a sim game, that's for
Okay.
sure. But kind of old school.
Is it an amazing game?
It is an amazing game. It is.
Paul trying to get
It
in
really
the
is.
conversation. I like
Go YouTube F-Zero speedrun or F-Zero GX speedrun. So anyway, so I was doing that a little bit, but I also have some car updates. So the Camry had the P1300 ignition system. There was something spark related going on. I split a brake line. The rust just split it. So I ended up just towing it to a shop or getting it towed to a shop and saying, if I'm really going to sell this, it's going to be really tough to sell and stressful if it's not running or can't be driven.
Yeah.
So I went in to have them fix the brake line. Toyota doesn't make brake lines for the Camry anymore, so they have to be made. They're so rusty that he has to replace all the hard lines. There's no place
Oh,
he
sure.
can.
Oh, I had to
Yeah,
do that.
he
with
can
my
never.
dad's-
He can't
my
splice
dad's
in or
Suburban.
anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's replacing all the brake lines. So new brake lines.
Now you got to keep it. No.
Yeah.
Are you exceeding the value of the car yet?
Probably no. So I'll probably spend $1,300 on the brakes and the P1300.
And I was about to say, man, you're crossing
So-
the line already.
Yep, exactly.
So
So,
they're
hopefully this week I get it back. So the P1300, so that's a spark and ignition thing. The spark coil packs all brand new, 10,
Yeah.
15,000 miles ago. Spark plugs, spark plug wires, everything was pretty much brand new except for the igniter. And so I replaced some coil pack connectors since they can get a little bit old and one of them had broken. Didn't help or anything. So the mechanic found out what was wrong. And it is, to me, seems really random for a spark related thing.
What's that?
The cam position sensor was crumbling apart, and so was the pigtail, the wire connector. So that's what was happening. It would start when it's cold sometimes, but when it was warm, maybe it was jiggled around or something, or it was so
not
broken
accurate,
that it
yeah.
wouldn't work correctly, and it would just jump and then die, which just wouldn't hold an idle.
Oh,
So
that's
cam
pretty
position
cheap.
sensor.
That's a pretty cheap fix. If
Yeah.
your
So well,
bolt
Yeah.
doesn't break.
$300.
I was just gonna say.
$300
is
at a
cheap.
shop. At a shop, and I don't know
To get
where.
the car running again?
So, but here's the next part.
But he also has to pay to get it to stop.
Yeah, right. So $1,300.
Yeah.
Now the Camry is not worth what it would have been a few years ago. Even though 5-speed manual V6. But I figure I'll ask for and take less. You know, I don't think.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
don't say
get
how
more.
much you're going to take
Yeah,
away
I'm not gonna
on this show.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask for.
No one on this show is buying that car.
Yeah,
You never know.
Well, you never know, right? Like
He has it.
I think we should call the Germans up that came from Porsche.
Yeah, I know, right?
The ones that were just fascinated that there was a hole in the hood and it was still legal.
Yeah, well, it'll run well. Like almost everything is new on the car.
Cold air induction.
So,
I didn't think about
but
that.
here's the kicker. So, when they're doing the brake lines, one of the brake lines and the one that's actually split goes behind the gas tank right next to a fuel line.
Mhm.
The fuel lines are even rustier.
Oh God.
So I might be looking at a $2,300 bill.
And we've crossed the line.
And at that point, if I just sell it and for, break even, I'll be happy.
Can you get insured for $5,000 and park it at the Advanced Auto Parts where I?
Yeah, right. Well, at that point, I might drive it for 6 months.
Man, I think
you know,
got to cut that.
Wait.
Oh.
Yeah, I know, right? So that's what's happening with the Camry. I'm gonna sell it and hopefully I
do
just
not
break
endorse
even or make
insurance
money.
fraud. I just wanted to.
Not
throw
fraud.
that-
You're just parking it somewhere.
We do not endorse insurance fraud.
Yeah, but the plus side is that everything will be running properly and pretty much everything's new on the car. So
Is it going to be sold inspected? No.
it's historic.
Oh well.
That means it was
Let's-
inspected one time in its life.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's not go down that route.
least
Well, actually, it would probably pass inspection except for one of the O2 sensor wires is cut, so it'll throw check engine light. But yeah. Anyway, great car. MR2
Maybe
owners who want a
wonders doing the
5-speed,
inspection.
6-speed, or a 5-speed with a V6
Wow.
swap. That's the car. So anyway, Cayenne. So the valve body for the shift solenoids, haven't done that yet. I'll probably do that last because it's the least pressing thing. Right now I'm addressing I replaced the amber side light and I'm replacing the cornering light, the part for which on the xenon headlights for the first gen pre-facelift. It can't be classified properly in Porsche's part system because they gave me one for the facelift, which I brought in the bigger bulb and all that. So I'm getting all the lights fixed. Manny and I saw how you adjust the headlights when the headlight was out. It looked
Much
like
easier than my daughter's.
yeah, they're like two things, with an Allen
two
head
knobs, right?
adjuster. Yeah, with an Allen, I think an Allen key. You probably use the tool that comes in the toolkit.
Yeah.
And you adjust them that way. So I might try that. We'll see. I might not want to touch them because they're
Might
plastic.
want to lubricate the put a little silicone on them
Yeah,
before
they're
you
plastic.
turn
So
them.
maybe I'll just leave them. But the last thing that I needed to do is finish off. So Rob did 3 spark plugs in coil. packs.
That is awesome.
Did he just
That-
call
that-
out
I told
Rob?
me that.
So no. So I knew
then he got a
this.
phone call and forgot about it.
No.
Isn't that the
No,
topic
he-
of today's
What
what things you will make you walk
Walk
away
away.
when you're shopping for a used
Yes,
Porsche?
yes, but so he did 3 spark plugs and coil packs and said that he couldn't finish, went to pick up his kids and just never got around to doing the rest. Well, I look into the back spark plug.
Secret editor of your magazine.
I get it. Sometimes
So-
I can understand that.
So I look into the and he actually said, you might not even need to replace them because it's running so well. So I look
That
into
sounds like Rob.
Yeah. So I look into the back spark plug. For some reason, I'm thinking I'll just do the rearmost one first, and it's super easy to access on a VR6.
Yeah.
So that's the nice part. Yeah, spark plug tube is filled with oil. Not filled, but there's a good amount of oil. So that means
Valve
spark
cover
plug,
gasket.
valve cover gasket will be done while I'm doing these spark plug seals and all that stuff. So my project this week and this weekend is intake manifold off and valve cover gasket.
Is it drivable?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Even with the
It looks good.
transmission?
Oh yeah.
No.
So we've been talking
great.
a lot about ignition and sparks and spark plugs. Quick
The
update
Fit.
for me: the Fit is still in the same place it has been for a couple of weeks. It's been too cold to work on it. And,
Next to the Cayenne that doesn't run.
yes. Next, the Cayenne is also out
Man,
because
this
of
is-
the one bolt. It actually runs. It's just I want to run it to wherever I'm gonna fix it, so I don't want to really move it. It was warm enough to do a little bit of an oil change, do an oil change in the Odyssey, so I could reset the light because that was kind of bothering me. Here's the thing I have to ask you guys. So I think we all love our homes and we all try to keep up with maintenance on our homes. But would you agree with me that fixing anything or replacing anything in your home doesn't bring me joy? And it's not because I don't love my home. It's just that when you fix things, it's still the same. Like nothing has changed in my life. And so the reason why I bring this up is I was my dad's coming over, so I was cleaning up my daughter's room in the basement. I looked up and I noticed a little bubble in the drywall. So long story short, I find a pinhole leak in one of the copper connectors, and I'm pretty proficient with replacing pipes and stuff like that. But what I'm getting at is, stuff like that takes a lot of time, sometimes can take a lot of money, and then when you're all done, it's just kind of the same. Life hasn't changed. You don't enjoy the house more. I am thankful it wasn't a bigger leak, but you don't really
could have been a flood.
Could have been a flood, right? But yeah, like replacing your roof. That's a lot of money, and I had to do it, and I did it.
But you didn't do it.
You didn't do it.
Oh, I didn't do it.
All you did was this.
Yeah, that's right.
Stroke the check.
Yeah, exactly. Charge. So, anyways, if you guys haven't considered using shark bite connectors, again, normally I would braze and weld and or use a flux and stuff to fix it. But where this was, and because today is Lunar New Year, and you're not supposed to be working on your house in the Lunar New Year, I went for the shark.
It's not working today, then.
Shark.
That's a thing, huh?
Yeah. Shark bite connectors, and it's kind of like an erector set thing, and all the connectors on the pipes, and worked out pretty well.
Just kind of snug it down.
They just kind of like snug and snap in.
I think we're pushing it when we're talking about non-Porsches. Not talking about house repairs. We may lose the audience completely.
Well, hey,
Exactly.
Goofy's Garage, man. Like,
Yeah.
this show is house repair.
So back to car stuff. Anyways, what things will make you walk away from buying a used Porsche? And the reason why Paul is here is, out of all three of us, you do a good job of not only buying things, but you let things go to buy things. So I'll let Manny kind of take it from here.
Yeah, so the conversation piece I thought of was, at what point do you walk away from a car? And so I'm helping a member buy a Boxster. She has a air-cooled late model Carrera, like a, I don't know, 87, I think. Anyways, she saw our 987 Boxster, really liked it, and said, I'd like to have one of those too. So I said, well, I told her the price point, so on and so forth. So we've been searching around, and so I started thinking, at what point would I say, yeah, this car isn't for you, or this car isn't. There's a couple of red flags, that I see that I would not buy this car. And so I was curious to what red flags would make you say, nope, I'm not going to look at this car any further, be it in the ad or in person, that you would walk away from it.
Now, are you asking this assuming that we don't have an opportunity to do a PPI?
Well, you have to do.
Well, even with the PPI comes back. And so what I see very often is people who, once you get into that mode of buying cars, you're going to buy a car, you got the money, you start making excuses for things that normally your friend would say, yeah, you got to walk away from this one. You would make excuses. Well, it's not that much to repair. Oh, I can repair this for this little bit, or this, that, and the other, and pretty soon you're pretty deep in repairs, right?
Yeah,
So
especially people that are first-time Porsche owners. You've wanted one for so long, and then you what I tell people all the time is, don't fall in love with the first Porsche you go and see. Like, even if that might be the car, like, you owe it to yourself to drive a couple others so that you can compare. Because so many people have wanted a Porsche for so long, they go and test drive one. Okay, I'm taking it.
I'd probably say this is before a pre-purchase inspection sort of thing. Like, and Nathan Mers did a great video on a pre-purchase inspection, but I kind of figure if you're taking your car to get inspected and paying $200 or more, probably more on the newer Porsches, you've probably already, the things I'm going to talk about, what would make me walk away, I probably already would have walked away before I got to the
not all the
pre-purchase
time,
inspection. Not all the time,
Yeah,
but a pre-purchase inspection is going to say, like, if I like the car, overall, I like the seller, this and that. If a pre-purchase inspection, I would expect to walk away at that point.
Suppose the car is in Utah and you're here.
Yeah.
So the pre-purchase, somebody's looking at it for you.
Yeah.
You've just seen the pictures, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So the pre-purchase is going to tell you whether it needs a water pump, an alternator, and more likely what it's going to cost.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, let's say you've bought the seller at that point, you love the car, you want to buy it. The pre-purchase inspection to me is kind of like that last step. And now if anything goes wrong in the pre-purchase inspection, maybe that's the final chance for you to walk away or
negotiate
think
the
deeper
price.
or negotiate the
All right.
price. Right.
So my first one was, we were talking about this at Cars and Coffee, when the stated mileage doesn't match the condition of the interior. And
That's a good one.
Mhm.
that's
Yep.
I see it very often. And I always use my cars as an example. So I'll take my 911 964, 167,000 miles, I think. And interior is all original. It's never been redone or anything. Has some wear, but not very much. And then I'll look at a car that supposedly has 90,000 miles, and the seats are all torn. It just either hasn't been taken care of, or that odometer stopped working at some point, and no one.
Or the person's just not careful when he or she gets in and out and just rubs against it.
Yeah.
I mean, they would have to be doing a lot of rubbing.
Yeah. Oh, but I've seen it. I've seen it a lot.
Project 964, actually, I want to say the original seats had a little more wear than the 38,000 miles that was
Yeah,
suggested.
and
So-
knowing that car sat outside for
Yeah.
almost 10
10
years.
years,
yeah.
I knew
Yeah.
that just dried out the leather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah, if the condition of the car does not match the mileage, that's a red flag.
Well,
for sure.
for me, I want a car that's got a clean Carfax. Now, just because it has a clean Carfax doesn't mean that
Right.
nothing has happened to the car.
Right.
Carfax talks about service history.
Mm.
I don't want a car that's been painted, except maybe for front bumper cover, which is pretty common.
your red flag is anything but the bumpers. Bumpers are
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And-
pretty common.
Yeah, and that because it is pretty common.
I always tell people the factory doesn't even paint the bumpers. They comes from an outside vendor to them already painted.
Yeah,
So doors, fenders.
I wouldn't.
That's a
I've
no-go.
I've walked
Yeah.
with one exception. I mean, the car I just recently bought. Tom and I went to Connecticut, and we realized that part of the side was painted, but the only way we knew was because we had a paint depth gauge. Now, you said you could see a difference.
Did I not?
And you
I
did. You
not
did.
see
and-
it without a paint gauge.
That's right. So you have a good eye for that. But that was a daily driver.
Yep.
And everything else was good.
Yeah.
It had averaged 5,000 miles a year, had a lot of service records, and it was a little unique. And so I just
Absolutely.
said, I'm going to do it. And I'm not sorry.
And it was a good paint job. I mean, 99% of the people looking at your car would not know.
Right.
Did the,
now,
did
if
the
that
guy-
was a Porsche, I would have walked.
No.
Did the guy selling it disclose that it had been painted?
No, they thought that it was original. And
This was a broker, right? Or-
it was a independent used car dealer.
I wonder
Yeah,
if they did a paint gauge and
Probably not. They bought it from the original owner, so it was original owner car. I mean, there were a lot of things to check off,
Yeah.
and we drove to Connecticut at that point.
Yeah.
Had a PPI, and they found a couple of things that they fixed it, new battery and tie rod, I think. So that was fine. But if that was a 993 that I'm looking for, I would have turned around and drove home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it really depends what you're going to use the car for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
can we
that's-
just throw in or chip in if some of our stuff is similar, or are we going to go person by person with this?
you could just probably check it off if you already
Yeah.
said it.
Yeah. For me, collision damage. So it's very similar, but and this is one of those things, whether it's collision, with another car, very light, it almost doesn't matter to me. I don't really want something that was repaired that went deep into the body or required a lot of work, because over the years, so 15 years ago, I didn't realize that collision repair, that how widely it varies in the quality. In my opinion, and this is probably wrong, but this is just me, my experiences, so probably just hypersensitive to it, but I don't really trust almost any collision repair place to do the job correctly. There are very few, so for me, I'd rather not see collision. It can have, a couple scratches in the paint, rock chips or whatever, maybe even a little door ding. But, if there's damage, and especially if it's been repaired, I'm going to assume before it's inspected that the repair probably wasn't done right. And that's just me.
Yeah,
So I tend to sort of
I wouldn't
discount
even
cars
go
like
to a
that.
PPI after that.
Yeah, exactly. So collision damage or something, where you had to do some big body work, kind of a non-starter for me.
What about an owner who's evasive or doesn't know the answers to your questions?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean,
You'd walk?
sometimes, oh yeah, I would. I mean, just a lot of people unload cars, and if the current owner doesn't know it, they feel like justified, like I don't know it, so I'm not responsible for anything that happens on this car. Again, that if it was a car that was really seeking and it was rare and I had an opportunity to do a PPI, like I might change my mind. But I think most of those cases where people don't know anything and they're just going to say, oh, I'm just trying to sell it really quickly, I'm doing a favor, or blah 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 blah, I'm going to walk. It's like I'm not going to invest my time.
So the car we were looking at for this lady for the Boxster, I told her what to ask the gentleman selling it, and she said a lot of he didn't know, because it seemed like he was someone who wanted a Porsche but was not an enthusiast.
Yeah,
and he was selling it because he said with his hip it's uncomfortable to use a clutch, so he was hardly using it at all because of that. So they decided to sell it. And I explained to her, I said, well, not everyone is an enthusiast. So, I mean, for instance, I said, I don't remember what size engine my wife's Chevy is until I have to go buy a part for it and look it up. But it's not something I really care about. So a lot of these people may not know a whole lot about the car. But you want to look at maintenance. And he had just done 2 oil changes in his whole 4 years that he owned it.
Oh.
So that's
Before we
not
move
a whole
on,
lot there.
yeah.
do you hear that?
Yeah, there's probably somebody doing maintenance up on the roof.
Okay, gotcha. I see what you mean.
So if the owner doesn't know, I guess there's a difference between the owner not knowing,
Or the owner being evasive.
as
Absolutely.
far as saying if somebody's flipping a car and just pick this up and
That was on my list, so
Yeah.
it falls into the same
yeah,
category.
and then it's then you got to weigh, okay, this car has little history that I know about it. Am I willing to take it? Is the price worth enough to where I'm going to say, well, I'll take a chance. I'm getting it for $5,000 less than market value, so I got a $5,000 buffer to repair things before I get to the point where I would have bought a car that had all these records and whatnot.
Yeah, this question may seem to be pretty straightforward, but for someone like myself who is such a bargain hunter, and
AKA
yeah, you know,
cheap. No.
Yeah, right.
it's like, yeah, I always have this hope that I come across something that that I can either fix myself, or you know, it's good enough for what I need it to do. Like, for example, your car, where you said it's your daily driver and you're okay with, you know, a certain section of it painted. Like, I'm okay too. Like, I can't think of any of my cars as most of my cars are used. I bought them all used. I think the only new cars I buy are for my wife. And so none of them are perfect. None of my cars are perfect. Do I love them? Absolutely. So, you know, like, it's easy to say you can walk away, look for that perfect car, but considering what you're wanting to do with it, the amount of money you have,
That's why I think it's good to bring a friend.
yeah, to keep
Oh,
it
yeah,
straight.
When you're in that mode,
Yeah.
you will make excuses for, you know, it's like people in a relationship where other people can see this is a very toxic relationship. And the person saying, no, you don't understand the person. They're really great if you get to know them. You need a friend to say, hey, you got to walk away from this dude.
Yeah.
It's,
But it could work against you, because you're talking about, you know, they're telling you the ideal world. And a perfect example is this 356C coupe that I went to go look at with Mr. D. Maria from Stuttgart Performance. Now, he's a guy, like I think most of you, is like, he likes a perfect car, all original, da-da-da-da-da. And we actually, it was the lady that we met on the Southwest flight, and it was her father's 356, and we just north of around Ellicott City here, went to look at the car, and it was a solid running car, but it did have a little bit of rust behind the front fenders. And Mr. DiMaria was like, absolutely not. If it's the rust there, then
there's more rust.
There's more rust everywhere. True, but at the price she was willing to sell that, had I bought it and fixed the 2 rust areas behind the front fenders, I would be ahead of the game today.
I got to disagree with that.
Yeah, but he was implying that what you can see, there's likely more behind
Correct.
it. And
Yeah,
so if
correct.
he's knowledgeable enough, he's probably seen that rust before,
Yeah,
and he knows.
that's gonna.
All you got to do is fit in on a John Panarak presentation of Tech Tactics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have one on YouTube. and you'll see the nightmare of what a car can look like that it's fine. Maybe it had little bubbles on the fender.
Yeah.
And when they strip this thing down, it is so rusted. And we're talking 6 figures on a coupe to restore that I would have to decide with Matt. I would have just
Walk away.
walk away.
So here's an interesting one. Here's a situation where I think it's almost impossible to walk away from. So if you're going to buy something that's CPO'd, you know, that's a pretty good indicator that the car is solid.
Oh.
Yeah. More often than not, but you have to understand that
Depends on how old it is, too.
What CPO's limitations are. They do allow panels to be repainted.
Correct.
A certain percentage.
So I bought a CPO Macan and went there with a paint gauge
Yeah,
because I knew that, and it wasn't painted, which is what I expected.
You don't have to inspect it as close as you would as somebody selling it at their driveway,
Correct.
maybe. Or actually, a first or second owner selling it at a driveway, I wouldn't mind. It's more like the dealer, a used car dealer who has this among all the other Toyotas and Hondas. And
No, but this is from a Porsche store I'm talking
but
about.
that's
That's
what I'm saying.
pretty
CPO,
low risk. It really is.
They have to be responsible for the fact that they inspected this car. So yeah, your odds are that you got to make sure that the stuff that isn't covered under warranty is looked at. I think headlights to a certain degree are, but Macan headlights with the DLS, the HID or the LED rather lights, they are several $1,000s each.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so if that's not covered, that's a huge repair that you're going to have to get done sooner than later. But yeah, CPO I recommend highly because of the fact that it's
gives you-
very.
I mean,
Peace of mind for 6 years.
unlimited
Yeah.
miles.
Bumper to bumper.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's
And I wouldn't walk away from something like that, like a headlight, even if it's expensive. At that point, I'd probably try to negotiate if there were, if it was a good car otherwise, sort of thing.
But that's what I think that we were talking about was that just because the CPO doesn't mean you shouldn't inspect it.
Gotcha.
Oh, agree. But I wouldn't do a PPI on a CPO car.
I would probably agree. I mean, realistically,
I mean, it's a pretty big window of cars that could be CPO'd. In my case, the car was 1 year old. I think it had 5,000 miles on it. I didn't PPI that car. I mean, I looked at it.
Yeah, I don't.
yeah, looking at it in person, and the thing with CPO is my wife's looking at the CPO. A lot of them are not within driving distance, so you're going to have to call the dealer up, and maybe you can fly in and inspect it, or you just have to take the word of the dealer, or you can see if someone's willing to go over and look at it for you, and say, "Hey, yeah, it looks legit and everything checks out."
I mean, I've flown and flown back without. I've walked away.
Yeah.
That walking away is probably the hardest thing to do.
There's a couple of examples over the years of cars that I think we all know that I think people should have walked away from, but they chose not to.
Yeah, I've got a couple.
Yeah.
So with CPO, I agree with you. I think, it's a very safe bet, especially those that are new to Porsche, like peace of mind, 6 years, unlimited miles. But it's also, I still say people should look at it
Did we
in
say
person.
6 years?
Depends on how old
No, I was
it
gonna
is.
Depends on
say,
how old the car.
CPO is 2 years, and now if you have a manufacturer's warranty,
Yeah.
it will pick up after the manufacturer's
Right.
warranty ends. So if you buy a 1-year-old Porsche, you have a 3-year warranty,
3
I think.
plus 2.
So then after your other 2 years from now, when the manufacturer's warranty ends, the CPO kicks in.
and
But it's
and
not
it's all-
6 years.
It's 6 years total, though.
it was total because
Well, that's because you're adding what's left. Not every CPO car. There's 2017 models of CPO that have no manufacturer's warranty left.
Oh, I see what
Yeah,
you're saying.
yeah.
Starting
Start the
new with CPO, so after
Yes,
2
yes,
years, you can buy a 3rd-year CPO. From the
yeah, they were. But the interesting thing is, you had to buy it at the time you signed.
Sure.
It's
Yeah,
not like
sure.
you can.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I think it was for another year it was $2,000.
Totally worth it.
Thought was
Totally worth it.
totally
Yeah,
worth it.
that's like one major.
That was
pickup, and
that's a no brainer.
I always tell people, I go get the 3rd year, and,
Yeah.
and
And
just have that peace of mind for 3 years, unlimited mileage,
It's
that you own the
transferable.
car. Yeah,
Transferable,
It's
yeah.
a no-brainer.
It really is.
But I still recommend people either look at it yourself or have someone that has your sort of sensibilities to look at it, because there's CPO car, like painted bumpers, painted panels could be,
Oh, yeah.
and it's subjective of was it done really well or not. Scuffs like in your trunk area, in your trim, or even wheels that have fixed curb rash.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that's all acceptable. And so those repairs can be subjective of
So,
whether or not they did a
I'll
good
add
job.
CPO and going to see it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You got. I mean, has anybody bought a car sight unseen?
Have I?
Sort of the Cayenne.
I did it once during COVID.
Yeah.
I sort of did it with my 964, my first one. I sent them a deposit, and then I flew down with the money to Pompano Beach, and I looked the car over. The car was 4 or 5 years old when I bought it. But yeah, I looked it over and everything, and I didn't have a return flight. I was so confident. Could have gotten a return flight. Wouldn't have been that hard, but I was pretty confident that this was a car. And it had no CPO. This is before CPO. But yeah, it was, I guess, sight unseen in the sense that it had everything. And I'd been searching so long, I mean, almost a year, for a coupe that looked 32,000 miles, all records they sent me and everything, and I thought, this is the car.
I mean, I didn't see mine till it rolled out of the trailer a week later, and that was a long week.
Yeah.
Waiting. The car was everything the guy said it was and more. But I talked to him 2 or 3 times. Interestingly enough, I did a PPI after the auction closed, and they didn't find anything. And he said, if anything's major, we can cancel the deal.
All right. Here's one for you. If you find out that the car is either a lease or a fleet vehicle, would you walk away?
I'd
Not
walk.
necessarily, no.
No, not for me. I mean, let me, if especially with CPO, I wouldn't walk away.
I wouldn't either.
I would.
If you got to inspect it, I would.
I wouldn't take a leased car. I don't think.
Well, now that you say that, I'm never going to buy a lease car from you. What do you do to lease cars?
Lease or rentals. People hammer rentals cars.
Well, rental's different, though.
I don't know.
Well,
I'd be reluctant.
I will say, when I had the Jetta that was leased and I wasn't planning on keeping it, like, I wouldn't mind. I would definitely, from the cold, I wouldn't mind going full throttle. I wouldn't let the car warm up necessarily.
Remember the first time we met
but
you?
a lot of
you
people
had
do
that
that.
leased. What the heck was that lease?
Ford Freestyle.
Freestyle with the perpetual check engine light on.
Oh yeah.
That's because it was a Ford Freestyle.
And-
That's
and
not
what
not
was
not
doing
because of me.
Yeah.
That was because it was a Ford Freestyle.
But like,
I mean, if it was somebody that I knew that leased it instead
Yeah.
of buying it, okay.
Yeah.
But most of the cars I'm looking for, they probably were not leased.
Was your Cayenne? Was he leasing that when he
Yeah.
sold to you? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tough.
But you knew the guy,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the difference.
so there's that too.
And I think I have a feeling Tuffy, even though he's leasing, is pretty fastidious with taking
Oh, yeah.
care of his cars.
Yeah.
He struck me as that kind of guy that was.
Yeah.
He would, regardless of what circumstance he was getting the car, he would always take care of it.
I think we brought this up in our last call, or not call, last episode was, would you buy necessarily, or would you walk away from a seller that had a lot of cars?
No.
Depends on how long he's had them.
Yeah, and if I go to the house and they're all parked on the front lawn in various stages of that would turn me off.
Yeah.
But if it was in a collection and taken care of in the garage,
Don't drive up to his house. No.
I was just about to say, if all the cars are parked on the driveway, look like they haven't moved in a couple of weeks.
Snow still on them. No.
Snow still.
Why are you looking at me? My cars look like they've been jerked.
Because I thought my house was bad, and then I drove up to yours.
you don't have it on the lawn yet.
Huh?
Your home
Yeah.
association probably wouldn't let you.
Oh yeah, no.
No,
No,
but you
it
would-
doesn't look
you-
I
bad.
have a
It
lot of
doesn't look
cars
bad.
on the driveway,
Yeah,
but
it's a lot of
clearly
cars.
my driveway looks better than a lot of my neighbors. Some of my neighbors
you
have
wouldn't
really
put
bad
your cars
cars.
on the lawn, regardless of what the homeowners association.
I don't
But
think. I don't think
You
his
would
lawn-
not put your cars on the lawn, regardless of the homeowners.
If he had
association.
nice flat lawn,
No, I don't think he would. I don't know. Maybe
If I
maybe
had
I don't really know him.
If I had nice flat lawn and large enough room, honestly, I would like my dream is to have a circular driveway in front of the house, like to have a front yard big
okay.
enough that you could like park all your cars in a circular driveway. Like that's my dream. I would love.
But
that.
that's not on the lawn. That's on.
But
the
if I had a
driveway.
lawn big enough, that's what I would
they
do too.
park them. The first road circular would be asphalt. Then the outside would be the grass.
Wow,
Yeah.
Well, Paul, not everyone has a mega garage like you.
I don't. They're
Well, you-
all
that's
they're
why
all over the place.
You're a tenant of his storage.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
I just can't see it anymore.
Yeah. Exactly. It is.
It's
Stealth.
obscure.
So what about this one? Modified cars.
That's on my list.
I wouldn't
I have
walk away.
two about that.
I wouldn't walk away. If
Depends on the mod.
If it was done correctly.
Depends on the mods, and if
Yeah.
it's mods you would have done,
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
and depends on how they're done. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say too modified for my taste or modified not my taste. Like I don't want to reverse modifications and find what they did wrong on the way back to returning it back to stock or modified how I like.
My dream is the original car.
Me
Yeah.
too.
I mean, when I went to look at my second C2, my eyes lit up when I saw it had those ugly D90s.
Mhm.
I know people love them now, but I never liked them.
Is that the wheel?
Yeah.
The flat wheels,
Yeah.
pancake
Yeah.
wheels. Yeah.
The D90s had the D90s and it had stock ride height.
Oh, it looked like a 4x4.
And I thought, oh, this guy's never messed with this car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and so I lit up because I said, if he hasn't lowered the car, he's probably hasn't done anything else to the car. And it was all stock. So whoever owned it, you know, they just was,
I don't like cars with modified suspensions,
yeah.
and I've never done that to any of.
I
Well, I
love-
take that back. I just recently did it to
Isn't
the
your Pantera lowered?
Took
Yeah.
the spacers out.
Yeah.
That's right. But that's after owning it 40-something years. But
There's just something about I love a lowered car. I don't care what it is. It could be honestly.
But
I've considered lowering my Honda Odyssey because it just looks better. An inch and a half off of stock ride height always looks better.
but that's if you do it as opposed to
you
somebody
would
else.
get pulled over so much
What do you mean?
because the cop would think you're a lot younger than you were. And
Am I Odyssey? lowered?
Yeah, but
Oh,
once
yeah.
they put the window down and see the gray hair,
Well,
they'll,
I'm sorry, sir.
Whoa,
they'll
sorry.
go, he's in his
Whoa.
50s. He's okay.
I didn't realize you're driving your son's car.
Yeah.
Oh, ouch.
I didn't say grandson's
But-
car.
But you don't agree with me that every single car an inch and a half lower is
Mm.
Oh, no, you're
I totally agree.
100%.
That's what I
100% better.
I lower all my cars.
I want to
Yeah.
do that myself. Like Paul said, did they do it right? Is
Yeah.
it
He
done?
doesn't even want it done to his car.
No, I don't.
That's
Like I
fine.
said, the
That's
only
good for me.
car.
I would buy from him.
But he wouldn't buy from you.
No.
The only car that's the only car I've ever lowered, and that was done for ride height.
SC is not exactly.
Yes, it is.
It's stock ride
Well,
height.
it is because
Well,
in
European.
'83 they didn't have them high. They had brought it back down to. It's not European height, but it's not U.S. height.
It's
where
not
it looked-
U.S. height. That's what I was going to say. I remember looking at your car. It's not U.S. height.
It's higher than stock European, which is still stock, right?
Right. It's high.
Well, having
that
your car lowered is not like having STD. It's okay. You don't have to. You get very triggered by this.
He is. He does like. Well, you two, both of you are very OEM stock.
Yeah,
people.
that's just.
But none of my cars are stock. That's what I like to buy
you
stock
bought
cars.
You bought
But
them.
all his are.
If I saw
Your
my
cars
Cayman,
are all stock.
if I saw my Cayman for sale, I didn't know.
Mine?
Yeah, they're all
I
original.
don't have anything stock.
Well, that's
I
not what
ruin-
you've said
I
on
ru-
previous
I
podcasts.
ruin all my cars, and I love it that way because I know it's mine. The worst thing I can do is roll up to a light and look to the left and look to the right and see the same exact car.
What about cars that have been flashed? You know, they've been tuned. I feel
Ooh,
like
that's one where I'm gonna have to get some data on. I mean, I think you can flash and tune and do great things to cars, and I may know some cars that way, but do they do it correctly and have they abused it? Someone, I think my pick this week for a Mart Fresh was a beautiful 07 GT3, and buying something like that, I definitely would want to see the rev.
The DME report.
The DME
Yeah,
report.
sure.
Because someone putting a performance enhancer like that to the car, they're probably going to drive it more aggressive. The question is, did they drive it properly?
How aggressive?
How aggressive?
Yeah. Yep.
So,
I would say
if it was clean, I wouldn't walk away. If it's got some number whatever over revs, then yeah, I would walk away.
yeah, the way I would put that, maybe a little more diplomatically with regards to flashing or research or whatever, but it's hard to reverse or wrong engine and powertrain modifications. So that in particular make a car emission not legal with emissions. So I'm not even gonna, I don't think, deal with a car if it can't be historic, which I wouldn't be driving it much anyway. But if it's going to be, in Maryland 20 years or newer, I'm going to walk away from something that has a check engine light. I'm not going to deal with trying to chase down emissions problems and within the month, when you have to get it
That's a good
inspected and
one.
registered.
doesn't every ad
Heck
say?
no.
Doesn't every ad say check engine light, easy fix?
That
always
exactly.
makes,
like-
it always
just
makes
like-
me laugh because I'm like, it was an easy fix. Why didn't you fix it?
Or like the air
Exactly.
conditioner just needs a charge. Well, then charge it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will not buy something that won't pass emissions, and that's not just for like here in Maryland, and like thinking I buy the car, now I have 30 days, plus work,
Yeah.
To figure out what's wrong with it, and if I don't, then I'm going to have to get what is it, a non-running registration, and that's not something
You just have to show you spent $400 and then you get a waiver.
Get a waiver.
You can get a waiver,
Yeah,
for a couple, but then that's
2 years.
like pushing the can
Well,
down.
kicking the can down the road.
2
but
years is not bad.
And you still haven't resolved what is triggering the
Right.
check engine.
Right,
light.
right.
2 years, that's actually pretty generous.
I think
but
that,
I still
What
wouldn't
a
want
whole
to chase
waiver
it down.
is
I
now.
think that's what it is. I'm pretty sure. I think
But I
that's
still
what it
wouldn't
is.
want to chase it down because there's still the potential that it doesn't get fixed. And
Well, something that's triggering that light may be causing clogging up your cats or something like that.
there's all sorts of stuff. So that's how I approach that. And
That's a good
it's not
one.
just for today, but well, depending on how the world goes, we're probably modified powertrains are probably not going to be legal at some point due to emissions,
No.
especially as we go more EV, which might take a little longer than we thought. But
Yeah, to me, modification
Future-proofing.
is big if they have original parts still.
yes,
And if it's like when we did Project 964, I made a point that whatever we did could be bolted back to original. That's why a lot of things we didn't do because we wanted to keep that whoever buys it, if they want to take it back to 100% original,
They
can.
could.
we even kept the original suspension. Although I would argue that original suspension is great, but original 30-year-old, 40-year-old suspension, not so great.
Right.
So just because you have original suspension doesn't mean you have the original ride anymore. So keep that in mind that even if you want to keep that original ride, you may be replacing a lot of parts because, suspension wears out. It ages out. So
I think universally there's going to be one that we can all agree that we're going to walk away from. And some people say, well, it's not so flooded or there isn't that much fire damage. We're all going to walk away from that, right? Even though we can
Fire
clean
damage,
it, we
yeah.
can dry it out. We're all going to walk away from that.
Yeah, I had a car that got flooded, and
Are you
in
telling
a
me
matter
what I'm going to do?
in a matter of a couple of hours, the dashboard was like a Christmas tree.
In Annapolis, right?
Seats didn't work. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a mess.
Yeah.
Total mess.
and a lot of times that may not show up on Carfax. So Carfax is great. It's just a tool in helping you inspect the car, but it's not absolute.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it has to be reported. So you just still have to check. And that's a more serious of problem, the flooding part, on later model Porsches than I would say older Porsches. We've seen the nightmare videos from Peter Smith of Mecums and Cayennes with indoor waterfalls when it rains, causing major damage.
Major damage.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that sometimes, and I'll give the benefit of the doubt to the owners, sometimes the owners don't realize that they have water in these places until you start inspecting and see either rust or standing water in places where there should be standing water.
Yeah, with spring coming, this is a good reminder to you all to clear out the drains. And some people say, oh, well, I'll park in the garage. Doesn't matter.
Sunroof drains.
Sunroof drains, the front and rear drains, and the A-pillars and the rear pillars, have them checked because I've had that happen on my Cayenne where just leaves and debris, sediment, dust just collects and it clogs the drains. It
Just
doesn't take
because you
much.
garage it doesn't mean it won't happen.
Yep.
My box
Less
was garage
likely.
all the time, but I was cleaning it out, and there was several leaves and twigs
Yep.
because it sat in my driveway for a few hours. After a drive or something, that was enough for the wind to kick up some debris, and it made its way in through the tonneau cover into the drain hole. So yeah, it doesn't take much to clog those drains. And I'm not a big fan of those little screens that you put on the drains
No, because that's
because all that does now is build up the debris
At the top.
yeah.
at the top instead of at the bottom of your
bottom.
tube. You still got to get in there, and if you don't want to do it, have your mechanic do it. You still got to go in there and clean it out.
You're gonna laugh. I actually wrote on cars that I would walk away. Is like I really don't like sunroofs. Like now, if you ask me to buy a car, like I don't want a sunroof on my car.
Hard to find one without it. That's
I
the
know,
problem.
but yeah,
No, I get
would
it.
walk away from a car like a slick top car. When we bought my daughter's Chevy Cruze, and I was like, no sunroof, no sunroof. My daughter got her RAV4. I'm like, no sunroof, and we actually were able to find
What
cars.
did
with
your
it.
daughter say?
She said, I wish I had a sunroof.
Well, you wish you had a sunroof.
Yeah, but
until it starts leaking.
given the price,
Yeah.
she
Yeah,
was
because my
probably-
wife wants a sunroof, so I'm not going to say,
No.
you can't have a sunroof. It's just,
You just got to know sunroofs oftentimes start leaking, and that can lead to a lot of damage.
well,
If
the
it
drain
happens.
holes.
Not sometimes. They
But-
will leak.
But the
At some point they
challenge
will.
is
will.
trying
Well,
to
the-
find one.
I've never had a sunroof itself leak. It's the drain holes.
Oh yeah, well that's what I mean.
I've
It's
never
like
had
the
a
water
sunroof,
collects and
yeah.
If you looked at the MQB Mark 7 GTI forums, there's a design flaw with those sunroofs. So it's not just debris. Sunroofs are going to leak, and some aren't built as well as others.
yeah,
So-
I mean, I would say that most sunroofs do not leak. It's the drainage.
Factory
the-
sunroofs, yeah.
I had
factory
one
sunroofs.
car, the first X5 I had,
Mhm.
because it was outside
Oh.
a lot,
Yeah.
and yeah, there was.
Oh, just because you said that, it reminded me. I would walk away from a manual SUV.
I wouldn't walk
I
away.
didn't. Try. Well, one I kept for a
I'm
long
trying to
time.
trigger him. I'm trying to
One I
trigger
kept for a long time. One I kept it for a couple of years, and I just couldn't. Something was not right with that one.
because it was a manual SUV.
Well, but I had a manual X5 that I had for a long time
Yeah.
and liked it.
Yeah.
There was just something about that manual
That one?
Cayenne that I just
Oh, you had a manual Cayenne?
I did.
You
did.
Yeah, V6.
Yeah. It was gold, wasn't it?
But you didn't
Yeah.
fall in love with it?
I fell in love with the aesthetics of it, and I thought it was a great looking vehicle. It just, I don't know. I could still to this day, I cannot put my finger on what was it about that vehicle that I just didn't like.
Was it
And
the
my,
transmission shifting, or just overall how it felt?
I don't know. I don't know, Damon. At one point, Dana said to me, "Well, then just sell it."
yeah.
Ding, 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 gone. So
You did.
I did, but I had it 2 to 3 years, maybe.
But you specifically looked for a manual Cayenne?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
For
I did.
sure. I remember.
I did.
Yeah.
yeah, I did. Because I don't like automatics. So
Yeah, I think we talked about this a podcast ago or something like that. For SUVs, to me, the automatic just seems at place. I don't know why. Maybe the same way you can't explain why you didn't like the Cayenne. I can't explain why I like shifting cars, but in an SUV, I'm fine without shifting cars.
I think if that Cayenne was an automatic, I would have probably kept it for a long time.
I agree.
Is my guess.
Absolutely.
Is my guess. Because the Macan I absolutely love.
Yeah.
Although I think it'd be pretty cool if it was a manual.
Although little pickups, I like shifting manually. Big pickups, I'm fine with automatic.
Correct.
Really strange, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe it's because the gear shift lever on the big pickups makes me feel like I'm driving a Peterbilt.
Yeah.
Where on the little Nissans that
Yeah.
I grew up on, it was maybe a foot tall with the shift lever. That was all.
As opposed to something.
The big GM, I
Yeah.
felt like, yeah.
With a beer tap.
Even though it wasn't 16 or 32 gears, it was still way too long.
All right, I want to remind you, if you haven't signed up for PCA's newsletters, we have performance news, e-brake news, and Mart Fresh, all free. Just head over to pca.org. In the news, first line up here, we have the 718 Cayman spy photos.
Looks like a 911.
Is that what you think?
Oh, yeah. From
I
the back, rear 3/4 view, I saw it. I'm thinking 911.
think
I think
part of
even-
that's from the disguise.
Yeah.
No, but they say that car was not disguised. In the article said it's not disguised, and they said it looks like a 911.
So it definitely is disguised. We just don't know how much.
Well, is that
I don't know. It
what?
looks like it came into me.
That's
To me, I saw the 911 right away because it's sloping more, and
Yep.
like the rear end, I think they are trying to disguise like 911. But you see all around here, there's all sorts of stuff.
Is that the same one
Disguising.
link that was in? what was
Yeah,
that?
our driver article.
Yeah.
It says it wasn't disguised, but whatever.
Yeah, well, journalists don't know what they're talking about.
So basically, what I thought was interesting was
Too big.
anyone who thinks Porsche is getting out of the EV game, take note, they're not.
Yeah.
I am very excited about getting the chance to drive a Boxster or Cayman EV. I have been for a while. I would love to see what it's like.
Yeah. And you're looking at this picture here, it almost looks like a Taycan in the front and then 911 at the back.
Well, they do say
So-
the headlights look very much like the Taycan. So
Yeah. The 4-point, that'll be the new thing for all
What I
the
like about
EVs,
it,
I
if you
guess,
look
huh?
at it, it doesn't look electric. It doesn't make any
Yeah,
kind of
that's true.
statement of being an
Mhm.
EV. It looks like a regular.
and the Macan doesn't look
Gas
electric.
powered.
Well, maybe a little, but not.
I think it looks handsome. It doesn't scream.
It doesn't
Yeah,
scream
like-
EV
yeah.
like most of the
Yeah,
others
exactly,
do. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think you guys will be very pleased when you see how that looks in person.
You have?
I think you guys will be very pleased at
He
how
does
that
this
looks
all the time.
in
Oh,
person.
I know.
I know something you don't, but I won't tell you.
But I won't
What
tell
could
you.
he possibly be talking
I
about?
have no idea. And he doesn't know either.
Who knows? Yeah.
That's the beauty of it all. Next up on the news, at the track in the 24 hours.
Yeah.
So obviously,
Check out
if you're-
PCA.org's article too.
If you're a racing fan, this is old news, but Porsche did win for the second time in a row the overall 24 hours of Daytona. And I will once again hand it to IMSA. It was a thrilling race. They've done a great job of keeping these teams close together as far as rules and whatnot. And when you have, I think it was 4 cars on the lead lap,
Lead lap, is that
after
right?
24 hours,
Mm.
that is incredible.
impressive.
That's someone
I mean,
who
that's their goal, right? I mean, to have.
sure, you want to keep it
yeah.
exciting to the end. Because I remember when I started going to Daytona in '91, it was by the time you got there in the morning, they were like 20 lap leads.
Yeah.
There was no way that they were going to catch the leader. Now, I was on my edge of my seat, thinking one little hiccup, and it's going to cost them the race. So they kept it exciting all the way to the checker flag.
So-
But Porsche did win. Nick Tandy, now known as Mr. 24.
Mr. 24.
And that
yeah.
means because he's the only person who's won the 24 hours of Nürburgring, 24 hours of Spa, 24 hours of Le Mans, and now 24 hours of Daytona.
What a heck
And he
of a
gets
resume.
that beautiful watch again.
So the other 4 cars that were on the lead lap, what were the manufacturers?
It was
Yeah.
Acura,
Uh-huh.
Porsche, Acura, Porsche,
Cadillac, BMW.
and I think it was
Oh no, you're talking order. Yeah.
order.
So there were other manufacturers.
Was it BMW? I think BMW was
Mm.
in the hunt all the way to the end too.
Well, I
That's
don't
good.
know. I didn't actually watch the race.
No, I didn't either. I know they won. That was
I was
all-
very excited because I was about to pay my $7 for my Peacock subscription then cancel it. It's like I wanted to pay $7, and as I went to the screen to go look for the QR code to start the sign up process, I realized my son must have renewed it, and I was still one of the users. So I was like, "Oh, this is
Nice.
awesome!"
Yeah,
I was $7, and I get to watch the race.
I was busier doing real racing on my GameCube. So
Oh, in a alien pod, whatever that you were.
Flying
riding.
So I stayed up to 2 a.m. watching, way too late watching this racing, and it did pretty good coverage at 2 a.m. Trying to make it exciting because after a while you're just watching the cars go around and they settle into a groove. But they were up in the spotters tower, which I did not feel envy for these guys and gals who were at the top of the tower, having trouble determining which one of their cars were actually coming around the corner. But it was a very exciting race. Unfortunately, in the other classes, Porsche didn't do as well. If you watched the last hour, you saw that Rexy lost his teeth because his whole front bumper got ripped off. It was, I think they came in third. I had the ladies, the Iron Maidens,
Iron Dames.
Iron Dames, excuse me, they were doing well, but then they had a flat tire and some other issues. So hopefully we'll see him get some retribution at Sebring. But the main thing was Porsche won overall. And for those of you who are just new to the Porsche game, this is not a normal thing. We went a long time, a drought between when Porsche was going overall. And we may go again sometime in the future. But for now, it's great to be able to watch these races and see Porsche going for the overall win.
I remember you sitting right there when the 963s made their debut and they were not the hot ticket. And you were saying, we really have to watch them evolve because it's going to take a little while. And they'll get there, but it doesn't happen overnight. You said it sitting right
rare.
there. Yeah.
This was Porsche's 20th overall win at Daytona, which is just phenomenal. For
Out of
one
how many,
manufacturer.
Manny? Do you know?
When did they start? In the mid-60s, I think. It was actually started
60
off as a
years?
3-hour
So
race.
one
I
every
think they
3?
called it a Continental.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
To me, the most famous race was when Dan Gurney had the Lotus, and they always show the film of it every year. And his engine had died, so he coasted to the start-finish line and waited like 2 more laps. And then when they threw the white flag, then he used the starter and pushed the car with the starter across the finish line.
Mm.
But he just sat at the top of the banking waiting for that last signal that he could just drive it across, because the car has to be running in order to win.
So here's something interesting. I went to a party on Saturday night, and I met somebody, and her father is Jackaroot.
Oh, really?
Yep. And she has some memorabilia that people in the family really don't want. So I think she said she has a flag from maybe a 70s 24 hours of Daytona, autographed by
That
all
is
the
year
drivers.
that Porsche wins Daytona.
And she said,
Oh.
"Do you want it?"
Yes.
I said, "Yes." And then she has a picture of her dad interviewing Mario Andretti that's autographed. And
Yes.
she said, "Do you
Oh,
want
wow.
that?" I said, "Yes," and whatever else you have.
That's
So,
cool.
yeah, it'll be pretty interesting to see what she has.
Oh,
Nice.
honestly, that
Yeah.
triggers me a little bit because I feel like my kids will do the same.
Yeah,
When I'm
Yeah,
gone,
my kids make
they're
me
gonna
the
run
same
into
too.
strangers and be like, "Do you want it? You can have it.
Her
Yeah.
dad was
Car
executive
person.
director or something at the Porsche Club.
You can have it."
Yeah, she.
I also chuckled at this next one because it doesn't surprise me at all. But you mentioned about Rexy and the losing a teeth or two.
Yes, I saw this on a thread on Reddit under the IMSA Racing subreddit, and it really struck a chord with me because I always tell people, especially those on the East Coast, because it's so easy to go down to the 24 hours of Daytona, and I say you really should experience it at least once to see what it's like, and the access is phenomenal. You can go back 2 a.m, and although the cars are a lot more reliable now than when I first started going, half the garage was cars being worked on. Now it's just a very small handful because the cars are so reliable. But evidently, there seemed to be a rash of people taking parts from garages. And when I say you have access, I mean, you will
Really?
walk through these garages and there will
Crazy,
be no
right?
one there.
Yeah.
And I've always scratched my head and I said, well, race fans must be pretty awesome that they leave everything there. They don't mess with anything, respectful that these guys have their tools there and everything. But evidently, the event's gotten really big. I've noticed that the past few times. It keeps on growing and growing, which is great for the sport. But at some point, and it's going to be a shame, they're either going to limit access to the garages or start charging a lot of money, or you have to know someone to get a
and
pass.
Restricting access.
Yeah, and into the garages. It's a shame. But anyways, AO Racing, which is the team that fronts Rexy, the 911 3R with the dinosaur livery, said to the fans who hopefully mistakenly took crash body parts from our garage,
Yeah.
these were still the property of AO Racing and meant not for public to take. We love us, and the paddock access, but please be sure to ask the teams before you take any items. And I know when I was just starting to go, we were looking trash cans.
Oh.
Rarely find anything because other people are also looking for discarded body parts, spoilers, something that said the car's number or sponsor or something on it. But you would never think of going into a garage. Or if people were taking stuff thrown, they look like trash, you would say, hey, you're throwing that away. And sometimes you see people walking away with used tires and whatnot. But when I was at Sebring last year, I was helping the ladies clean up the PCA Porsche tent. And we were loading stuff up into a pickup truck. And people are coming by and taking stuff from the pickup truck. We had to yell
Really?
and tell them, hey, what are you doing? And they're
Yeah.
like, oh, you're going to throw this away? We're like, no, we're going to pack this away for the next event.
Oh, my
We're like, oh, I thought you were going to just take this as trash. And once again, the people who asked, whatever we had left over that we were giving away, we'd give them stuff. But just, never assume that you can just walk up and take stuff. So, that was a shame that I read this. And I'm hopefully,
a few ruining for the masses.
what I liked on the Reddit forum was that a lot of them said they called out the people who were trying to walk away with stuff and said, put it down, because it's just a neat part of IMSA racing is how much access you have that you cannot get an IndyCar and you can't get a NASCAR and forget Formula One. We went to, we saw what it was just at the WEC race. You needed like 3 levels of clearance. I think it would have been easier getting into the Pentagon than into the WEC paddock. So we certainly don't want to lose that special magical part of going to a IMSA race.
I mean, when I used to go to IndyCar races, you had complete access, but that's
The last time I went, it was very
late 90s, early 2000s.
restricted.
Yeah.
Let's get into PCA events. We have Tech Tactics East, February 22nd and 23rd at the Porsche Training Center. Saturday is sold out. Room, probably by the time you hear this, it's probably close to being sold out. But if you're still trying to get there, Sunday is the day that you want to try to register for. Works Reunion Amelia Island is March 7th. Judge entry slots are sold out. We still have some room in the corral. Treffin Homestead, which is April 30th through May 4th. Hot Springs, Virginia. Omni Homestead Resort. Registration opens February 5th. Porsche Parade, Oklahoma City, July 6th through 12th. And Treffin at Sea, 70th Anniversary Cruise. We cruise August 30th to September 6th. And that is open currently if you want to join us. And let's hop in to videos.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. We've got about 10 minutes. We've got a hard stop here, so
We really need 10 minutes. Yeah, so if you were paying attention to our YouTube or eBreak News, I guess a couple weeks ago, by the time you're hearing this, you will have seen my cleaning and detailing tips video on my Cayman.
because that's what you're known for, is keeping a clean car.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't clean my car often. I don't polish it often. I do that. It's just it's a once every 3 to 5 years. No, a long time. I
heard it was 6 months, but no.
So where did people start getting?
I
that?
think you had said that at one point on a previous podcast. You said like twice a year.
I'll wash my car 2 or 3 times
Yeah,
per year.
Oh, that's what. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about detailing?
Yeah,
I didn't think
detailing.
you ever did
I
that.
might hand polish it once every couple years, and I'll machine polish it. This was the first time, so I probably, I haven't done a ton, but over the years, I've taken
It's
in.
okay, Damon.
I've taken in some things about detailing and cleaning, but I guess it wasn't
I'm
enough.
going to say it.
Right.
I'm going to say it. The public was very harsh on
They
you.
were very harsh.
They were very harsh.
Right, a whole week of congressional hearings for a cabinet position.
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess the point I'm trying to make is the car does look a lot better than it did when I started.
I thought it looked great.
But if you look at the comments, it almost looks like I've made it worse. So
How is that possible?
I don't know. It's YouTube.
It's not.
Now
It's-
I have to
so,
watch
I
it.
mean, detailers and those
You
that
have to
think
watch it,
that
yes.
they are detail level people, they are easily triggered when you do something that.
For one comment, rename the title, What Not to Do to Your Beautiful Porsche.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I should have just kept it how it was.
Okay, however, I say we go back and tell them you fell for it because we wanted to see if this would trigger you, and it obviously did because the video is doing very well.
It is.
Yes. Yeah. I wouldn't say it was on purpose to trigger anybody. I did that earnestly. But I guess let's talk about the main thing I did wrong, and at least I think is I used way too much polishing fluid, especially on that first area.
For me, the triggering part, and I didn't comment on it, was using
But
the
you will now.
the silicone blade to squeegee off your car.
So here's let me talk about that now, and I'm not trying to. So I don't like using silicone blades.
Yeah.
This was a collaboration with SwissVax. They sponsored the video.
Yeah.
And they gave us a whole bunch of stuff. So I figured I'd try some. The blade was something I tried out. I wouldn't use the blade again.
You don't like
Well,
that?
here's the
So,
thing. Here's
yeah.
the thing.
It
Is,
sort of like grates against the car. Like it didn't
So
feel.
you pick up one piece of dirt, you're taking
Yeah.
it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess.
if
I
it,
use
if,
like
if it was my Odyssey, my
use it
Corolla,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
wanted
Slower.
to, whatever, for something you're trying to maintain a pristine finish, and you probably didn't do damage, but it has the possibility of doing some serious damage, right? And that's why people cringe. It's not that it's the product does what it's supposed to do and lets you wipe off water pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It's just, that's the, using a lot of product to get the swirl marks or the scratches off. You're just not used to doing that. I can totally understand that, but I wouldn't call you out on a comment on
Well,
YouTube
I'm
or-
glad people did because I wouldn't want anything I say regarding something I did wrong
Yeah.
to be mistaken for its right. So I appreciate the comments actually,
Yeah.
and keep commenting, keep talking me down because it's helping our video. But
And
That's what we're gonna do from now on.
I'm going to watch it tonight,
Yeah.
so
Any
you better watch
revenue
out.
will be put towards therapy.
Yeah.
yeah, but
This could be a new recipe for us.
This video wasn't meant to show that I'm an expert detailer. I really went into this as an enthusiast who every once in a while details my car, and hey, I thought I had a few good tips. I'm gonna think twice about doing anything regarding detailing and washing because it's clearly not my wheelhouse. And I thought that I gave good tips. Maybe
but
I didn't give as
I
many
don't
good
think
as I
you
thought.
did anything that I
Yeah.
would say 90% of people do as well, right? I mean, that's,
Yeah, I would say
still,
I represent every person that
yeah.
cleaning.
Yeah, and your car does look good. It looks fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Next video is Manny giving color advice.
well, I have an idea.
me.
I have an idea with of how to address and I hope make right this detailing video. It's really busy right now. Hopefully we can do something soon. But I have an idea.
We
We'll
know
see if
some
it comes
folks.
down.
We know some folks that we
folks who might be able to talk some sense into me.
Yeah, we could
So-
turn this into a series.
Yeah. Right. yeah. Series. Of
What did Damon
does
do
wrong.
now? What did Damon do
But
now?
isn't there like cooking series I've seen where they get
Oh yeah,
people who aren't known for cooking?
I'm
to,
thinking of Uncle Roger. Uncle,
I need to
Uncle
go back
Roger's-
and check how bad were the comments when Rob did the water pump.
Oh,
Were they that bad?
No,
I think people felt bad for Rob in some.
Was this on the 996?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they don't
And-
feel bad for me. No, I'm kidding.
Well, you didn't do you didn't really do damage.
But
You
there
just did-
we titled it. I forgot what the title. Basically, when
You're
a
expecting
non-mechanic,
amateur. Non-mechanic.
that
does
we're,
that.
we're trying to show that these YouTube videos that make it look like you can change a water pump
In 15 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't take into account rusted bolts and then all the stuff we broke along the way to replace this water pump.
Yeah. So that video, if you do what I did, you'll probably be fine. But there are a lot better ways to do some of the detailing stuff
Did
that I
Swiss
did.
Wax
So-
say how much that whole set costs?
What's that?
Did Swiss Wax ever say how much that whole?
Oh man, I almost don't want to know. But like they sent
It's high level stuff.
high level stuff. I would almost say that more than 500, less than 1,000 for all of that.
Yeah.
Well, that's
And,
not
and it might even be a little more than 1,000 because one of those
I was-
waxes
Yeah.
that is not wax that I would
Uh,
necessarily buy myself.
A good
But
takeaway.
really
from
awesome
this
wax.
is just because you have the product
Yeah.
doesn't mean you do the right job. You
Yeah.
have to have that knowledge as well. And you have some good tips, and there's other tips out there. But if you're looking for someone to say do the work on your car, make sure that they have the knowledge to use the product correctly.
And I will say, at the end, one of the points of the video too was like I usually just wash my car with one soap and use the same soap for the wheels after I wash the car with a different mitt. I had really, really simple wash, but I used specific products in this video and it showed, like the leather is cleaner than it's ever been because I actually use leather cleaner instead of just wiping it down with a towel or something.
I think it's at least $2,000.
yeah.
And I don't see.
Oh, it doesn't
buckets.
surprise me.
I don't see buckets on here.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Carnauba wax is what you used, right?
Yeah, and I used the carrot wax, which alone that wax I used for that little tub was like $500 or $600.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah,
Well, by the time you listen to this, we probably will have the raffle winner video. I got to do that this past weekend, is surprising an Alabama region member at
Did the act surprise or?
they were genuinely surprised because they showed up for what was called the polar bear run that they do annually in Alabama, and they just thought they were there for the run, and we surprised them during the drivers meeting. They were floored. The lady or the wife was in disbelief. She was like,
It's not an actual 5K. It's a driving.
it's a drive, yeah. And so they were a very cute couple. So that video is probably out now. So enjoy that. Let's see, PCA Sim Racing. We've got a new program where we're actually going to be streaming the Sebring race and VIR and a couple of others. So if you haven't checked that out,
Sebring will be over,
Yeah,
but you
Sebring
should
will
be able
be
to
over.
watch it afterwards, right?
Yep.
yes, you will. And it's not just going to be Sebring. Off the top of my head, I'm forgetting there are
4
two more races.
VIR is it one of them?
2 or 3
VR,
more.
VR as well, but I think a total of 4 races.
Yeah.
I watched the one that Potomac region did with Summit Point, and I was really
Yeah.
impressed because it's not like 2 cameras and you're just watching cars go by. They had multiple cameras and commentators, and it was really engaging.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was on Potomac's YouTube channel. So this will be
Yeah.
on not on a PCA Club Racing YouTube channel. This will be on PCA's YouTube channel.
Yeah, but I've watched others streaming that is like 2 cameras set up,
Mhm.
and you're just watching cars go by, and your interest lasts about 30 seconds. But this was very well done. It was
Yeah, very exciting.
Something new for us. So
not
check it
as
out.
great as being there, but very close.
Yeah, exactly. Much cheaper.
and without having to do the long drive to Sebring.
Exactly. Insider swag, head over to PCA web store for bottles, mugs, t-shirts, and if you'd like a PCA Insider decal, just email us your address information to podcast@pca.org, and we'll send you a couple of decals. And Eva is losing patience here.
She's been very patient.
Yeah.
Our youngest audience member yet.
She is a PCA junior.
She was very good. She was good, but I think her battery ran out on her iPad. So now we've got to close the show. Anything else before we drop off?
Yep.
All right. Again, everyone, happy Lunar New Year. Thank you for listening. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and consider sharing our show with fellow Porsche enthusiasts. Until next time, stay safe, and we'll catch you down the road.